Welcome everyone to our one-day meditation. And my name is Rick Bissonette, and I'm here with my friends and colleagues, Mano Desjardins, Joanna Sear, and Jeff Sullivan. And we have a special guest today in Amy Edelstein. But first, I just want to, express a deep gratitude for everyone here today coming together in this way for an extended period of time to let go and to support each other in something I feel is one of the most profound things we can do. To become rooted in another dimension of our beingness that I think changes the way we relate to life, changes the way we relate to others, that is so needed in the world today. So sitting here today for an hour or 6 hours, completely giving ourselves over to this, I feel is one of the most profound things we could do. And to support each other in this is, I think, is one of the most profound things we could do too. So a deep gratitude for everyone here. And there might be a few people here that for the first time. So very briefly, just explain how the day unfolds. We have 6 sessions. So at the top of each hour, we begin a 45-minute session of meditation or a chant. It'll either be a text, a chant, or sitting in silence for 45 minutes. And then we have a 15-minute break. And we muted everyone just to allow ourselves to really be silent together so there's no background noises, and to really dive deep into this practice. This is the second time we're using Zoom, so it's a whole new experience for us, and so we're all feeling into this together. But I'm feeling now the collective nature of it, how it feels like a room. I'm looking at you all now, sitting in a room together. And so I want to introduce our guest, Amy Edelstein, now. I've gotten to know Amy a little bit these last 2 years. And it's been a wonderful experience to know her. She gives her whole life to evolution of people and groups and individuals. She's the founder and executor of Inner Strength Foundation, which is a program where she teaches mindfulness and social emotional skill learning and awareness to the inner city school kids of Philadelphia. And she's been doing this for 3 years, and I've had the good fortune to be tutored by her and participate in this program. And it's allowed me to get to know Amy and the dedication she brings to this total giving to life, and to evolution of life. She's also part of emergent education, where she does short and long-term programs, retreats, talks to schools, colleges. She's always going places and doing things, and I even felt guilty asking her to be here today because she's always so busy. But this is part of her dedication to life, and so I want to thank her tremendously for being here and to supporting all of us and consciousness itself in this evolution. So thank you, Amy, for being here.
You're very welcome, Rick. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to see all of you, many from all over the world, and some who I know by name, some who I know by face, and some who I have not had the pleasure to meet yet. So I'm looking forward to sharing the time in silence today. Now, I understand that the theme for this month's One Meditation is surrender. And surrender is something that I've thought quite a lot about. I started my own spiritual journey in the late 70s. I went to Asia in 1983, where I spent 4 years studying and practicing and traveling. And this is a theme that's been very active in my own practice. And there are various ways that I want to unpack it a little bit before we dive into stillness. There are different dimensions and ways to approach surrender. In one way, we are constantly surrendering to the events of our lives. Things happen, things we like, things we don't like. Sometimes we feel like we're being, tossed like a ping pong ball back and forth across the net of experience, positive experience, negative experience, and back and forth. And our ability to accept reality as it is without losing our contact with our higher vision and our aspirations and our goal for transcendence will have a huge effect on our experience of that buffeting. So we will either feel pushed and pulled by forces outside of us towards which we have no control, feeling more like a pawn in somebody else's game. Or if we start to work with the principles of surrender and the qualities of surrender and the joy of surrender, then we'll begin to feel at one with that often very chaotic movement of life. Now, certainly, there are many things about our lives and about the larger situation in the world that we wish to change. And perhaps now, maybe more than ever, more recently, many of the situations and crises and suffering of the world are really coming home to our doorstep and asking us, what's our engagement? What's our involvement? How does our own transformation contribute to the upliftment of humanity? And oftentimes we find ourselves with our attention more on what we want to change and where we want to go, or frustration about the way things are, rather than rooted in surrender. We can't ultimately transform ourselves or the world around us without being able to surrender to things as they are first. In a very mundane example, if I wanted to walk from my house on the East Coast of the United States, 3,000 miles to the San Francisco Bridge. No matter how many days it would take me or months, no matter how many weather zones I'd have to go through, extraordinary people I'd meet, frightening circumstances I'd find myself in, I would still have to walk out my front door to begin that journey. It really is that way with profound transformation. We start from where we are. The metaphor of walking is something I worked with quite actively at the beginning of my spiritual search. I did go to the Himalayas and walk for 12 months, and sometimes I would go on 6-week journeys with just a map. It was way before the era of cell phones and global GPS. And I wouldn't know exactly where I was going to go. And I wouldn't know exactly how I was going to get there. And sometimes the days seemed incredibly long, and I just wanted to be airlifted out of the middle of the mountains where I found myself on my own day after day. And sometimes I felt so exalted and so at one with the cosmos. I thought that I could do that, for the rest of my life and be in bliss. And no matter which experience I had, I still had to go step by step, up the passes and down the passes and, on precarious cliff edges and on vast, wide open spaces. And it taught me a lot about relationship to the mind, about why we practice, about how meditation enables us to recognize that it's as much or more our relationship to our mind that determines what the quality of our experience is as what happens. One day might seem like the next day, and one day would be bliss, and one day would be unbelievable aggravation. And it really had to do only with my own frame of reference. And so when you're left with your own mind in a very monochromatic environment, day after day after day, you begin to see and butt up against the fact that where we root ourselves is really indicative of the depth and breadth of compassion with which we can live. And compassion is rooted in acceptance. It's rooted in surrender. So as we work with our meditation and enjoy, increasingly peaceful experiences of stillness, what we're really doing is we're cultivating the habit of letting go. We're cultivating the habit of surrender and becoming soft and accepting things as they are. We usually think of the strength it takes to let go as something that's engaged or clenched or driven. In my own challenges on the spiritual path and breakthroughs and discoveries, and then integrating all of that into a life that really is by its nature an alternative possibility to the kind of freneticness and division that most people experience as the backdrop of their lives. I've really discovered that becoming soft and becoming pliable and becoming fluid and flexible is an essential part of our transformation. If you think about it, water is an unbelievably powerful force. It's soft, it's fluid, and it cuts great canyons. The Grand Canyon is a mile deep, and incredibly wide, and it was cut by flowing water, this soft and mysterious kind of force. Water has an interesting way of finding alternative pathways around. And if we reflect on that quality of pliability and determinedness, we start to get a sense of how we can position ourselves in relationship to our own mind. Our goal is to root in ever deeper experiences and identification with oneness, with love, with consciousness, with the single heart, with the universality of our experience and the non-separation with everything. And to do that, we often have to move around obstacles rather than through them. We have to move around fixed positions in our own minds. We have to move around rigid ways that we think about ourselves and others. Transformation comes from letting go of fixed and limited beliefs, fixed and limited convictions and separation, resentments, anger, blame, self-criticism, inflated sense of self. The simplest way that I found to do that is to be soft around it all, to accept things as they are while keeping our eyes on a higher possibility and allowing that tractor beam from the mystery of spirit to pull us towards it and around that obstacle that when it's too close to us feels intractable. So if we allow that pull from consciousness itself to begin to draw us into that space of love and oneness, we find ourselves moving around obstacles. And that obstacle may be our fixed idea about who we are, about what's possible, about our own imperfections, about situations with others that don't work, about political forces that are disturbing and disruptive and harmful. So in order to find also the energy to be engaged, maybe outside of our comfort zone, we have to keep nourishing ourselves and fueling our inner selves. And the way we do that is by allowing that pull on our own heart from itself to draw us into this greater experience and expanse and perspective. That sense of self as inseparable with all that is and all that has been from the beginning of time and all that will be. And then we become very sensitive to the effects of our actions and the pull to contribute the better part of our nature that arises from this stillness and this unity. Something beyond our minds and beyond our own construction starts to move us. It starts to move our own actions. It starts to enable us to do more than we thought, while feeling like our life has become more spacious than it ever was before. So the quality of space we create inside, in our inner exploration, in the quality of our lives are inseparable from one another. And so the more we allow ourselves to surrender in the practice of meditation and being still together, when we see it as habit forming and also as an expression of the way our outer lives are, then we start to experience this mystery of inner flexibility, of pliability, the way that letting go the way that seeing things as they are enables us to let go, enables us to transform, enables us to move forward, enables us to affect change, even while it's fueling and feeding and healing and soothing our own selves. So, surrender is a mysterious force, and it has to do also with truly not grasping, truly allowing our meditations to be as they are, whether our minds are very full and very distracted, or our minds are very serene and peaceful. We may be feeling very agitated for good reason or for not so good reason. We may be feeling very expansive and compassionate and full of generosity. Surrender means that we're not insisting that our experience be other than it is. And then we're recognizing the nature of our experience and then responding accordingly so we can move beyond division, limitation, harm, and towards greater light, greater love, greater connectedness, greater wholeness of being, greater extension of self. Surrender is really a very strong force. And when we approach it with a sense of softness and a sense of gratitude and a sense of appreciation for the grace that enables us to experience greater degrees of surrender, surrender begins to become a very powerful flow in our lives. So, for the rest of this time that we'll share together, let's share it in stillness and allowing this meditation to unfold however it will, abiding in that place beyond grasping, beyond fighting with experience, and beyond that kind of critical mind that divides one experience from another, one of us from each other. And let's simply explore that mysterious space that reflection on consciousness opens up in our experience, and allow that to take us places beyond where we might have thought we could go. As we prepare to draw this part of the meditation to a close, dedicate your own spiritual efforts to deep and meaningful transformation and to the benefit of all beings and the harmony and balance of the cosmos.
Thank you, everyone. As this concludes our first session for today, and we take a short 15-minute break and return at the top of the hour. I want to thank Amy for inviting us into this deep practice of surrender, deep letting go, for not only this last hour, but for the rest of the day, and for a practice in our lives. So thank you, Amy,
Thank you.
on behalf of all of us.
Have a great, deep session. I'll be with you in spirit.
Have a beautiful day.
Bye.
Bye. And so we'll return again at the top of the hour. And you're all welcome to be with us. So take a short break now and do what you need to do. We invite you to remain in silence, though.